Shabbat Shalom. By any estimation, this has been a hard week. This is not the first time that I've experienced or witnessed disruption and destruction in the city of Los Angeles. It's been about exactly 28 years since the riots that were sparked by the acquittal of the officers in the Rodney King beating case. And here we are in 2020, and little has changed. The words to protect and to serve are emblazoned on the side of many a police vehicle. I discovered this week that to protect and to serve, though we may have seen that on television and maybe even on police cars in our areas, actually has its origin right here with the Los Angeles Police Department. In the 1950s, a contest went out, a call to decide a motto for the LAPD. So though the words are modern, dating from the mid-50s, and by the early 60s they were on all the squad cars in the LAPD, the concept is a very old one. As we move through the book of Numbers in our second Parsha this week, we're still continuing to elaborate on the role of the leaders of the community, the priests in this time, the Kohanim. It was their job to protect and to serve. We use these words all the time in Judaism, lishmor v'la'avod, to protect and to serve. It's a really wonderful concept, actually. It's a balance between using restraint, discipline, and also kindness and care for those who administer and look after our communities. It wasn't easy then, and it sure isn't easy now, to protect and to serve. What kind of people are supposed to protect and to serve? What kind of people put on the badge and wear a uniform? People who put their lives on the line every single day, who make snap judgments, and sometimes those judgments have terrible consequences. What does it mean to be a servant leader? Discovered a lovely piece that quotes a gentleman named Robert Greenleaf, founder of the Greenleaf Center for Servant Leadership. He writes, "A servant leader is a servant first. This person starts with the natural feeling that one wants to serve and to serve first. It's a conscious choice that brings one to aspire to lead. That person is different from one who is just a leader or sees in themselves an authoritarian figure, maybe seeking that because of a need to assuage an unusual power drive or to acquire material possessions." He says the difference manifests itself in the care taken by the servant first to make sure that other people's needs are being served. The best test, and it is difficult to administer, is, do those who are being served grow as persons? Do they, while being served, become healthier, wiser, freer, more autonomous, more likely themselves to become servants? And what is the effect on the least privileged in society? Will they benefit by this service, or at least not be further deprived? Finally, he says, a servant leader focuses on the growth and well-being of people and the communities to which they belong. While traditional leadership often involves the accumulation and exercise of power by those at the top, servant leadership is different. The servant leader shares power, puts the needs of others first, and helps people develop and perform as highly as possible. Sadly, again, we have to bear witness to those who would be servant leaders using their physical power and the authority vested in them to be a knee on the neck of people who are unempowered, disempowered, not given the rights they, as citizens of this country, deserve and are entitled to by the law. Guns are outrageously dangerous, and our police carry them. But this week, we saw again the consequences of what happens when a knee to the neck and officers who stand idly by the blood of their neighbor that can be just as lethal. I am undone by the nature of the video and the words that have gone viral and caused such upheaval in our country. And yet it was inevitable. It took 100 years after the Civil War to pass the Civil Rights Act. These things shouldn't take a revolution by the people to bring about change. And I don't know what kind of change the events of this week will bring. I do know that by all accounts, Mr. George Floyd was only barely alleged to have been using a counterfeit $20 bill to buy something. He wasn't given due process. He wasn't even treated like a human being. It is searing and painful to watch, beyond painful to watch. This by the hand of somebody who was supposed to protect and to serve. Now we know, if we're students of Jewish history, that the role of the Kohanim was difficult to play. It wasn't easy to walk a fine line between serving the community and leading the community. The priesthood ultimately gave way to corruption and met its end with the unbelievable force of the Roman Empire and the end of the Second Temple as we knew it. Judaism didn't turn its back on our values and on our hope for the future. We reinvented, we faced a painful past and the destruction that was wrought from whatever corner of the universe it came. We gathered ourselves together, reevaluated our priorities, and reinvented ourselves. Can this country do the same? We're a young country. We have a violent past and a terribly difficult one that we need to confront every time a person of color, and especially a person of African heritage, is brought to their knees and had their life ended by someone whose job it was to protect and to serve. There's been too much violation of this vow, too much violence, too much gevura, not enough chesed. How do we pull ourselves together and as a community remember the values of what it means to protect and to serve? That, by the way, is not just the province and the responsibility of the police force. To protect and to serve is the job of each and every one of us. I did something today that I don't normally do. I set a timer for this talk. I set it for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And that's the goal I'm going to try to reach in these remaining seconds. 8 minutes and 46 seconds, the amount of time that George Floyd had the knee of a police officer put to his neck, where he said repeatedly, "I can't breathe," and begged for his mother. He died minutes later. 8 minutes and 46 seconds that shaped our world in this moment. May that struggle not have been in vain. Shabbat Shalom.